This is Toronto. It's a great pedestrian city. You can walk it. It has subways. It has fantastic street food. It's my favorite dirty street meat hot dogs in the world. It's also my favorite comedy city in the world. There's a reason I visit frequently. The first time I came, I was surprised by an annual festival that no one told me about. I had gone downtown to do a talk show, and it was hosted by this ancient man. He had to have been 75, 80 years old. And we did an interview, and then he mentions, hey, I see that you did the Whiskey Brothers. He said it much slower than that. Hey, I see you do the Whiskey Brothers. And I go, oh yeah. He goes, well, I have the people from Glenfiddich coming in just a moment. They're on after you. Would you like to stick around for the segment? And I said, yes. And they came in and they set up their bottles, and they had a 30-year-old bottle of whiskey, and they set it down, and we begin the conversation, and the ancient man takes a sip, and then he pretty much almost passes out. But it leaves me to interview them for the remainder of the segment, and I realize there's no one stopping me from free pouring the 30-year-old whiskey. Oh, that's wonderful. Can I have some more? What are they gonna tell me no live on the air? I'm hosting a talk show. I had a substantial amount, and I bid my good days. I woke up the old host. Hey, and we put some smelling salts under his nose. I gave him his show back, and then I sort of, with a buzz, go back to where I'm staying. And I get on Toronto's wonderful subway system. And I remember, this is probably what saved me from going to Canadian jail. Y'all have Canadian jail? Y'all had that thing in Kingston, but you closed it. There was an advertisement on the wall that said the something dumb annual zombie walk. And I had just gotten on this subway. I'm sitting there by myself in the nice peace and quiet. There's almost no one on it. And then the subway doors open up, and about 200 zombies walk onto my subway car at the same time. And if you're not, I probably would have freaked out and done something in self-defense, right? And could you chalk it up as that? I don't know the law. They scared the ever-living out of me, and this time around I wasn't getting tricked. So this year I'm taking a totally different subway stop. I'm getting off the University of Toronto, and I'm going to the Thomas Fisher Rare Book Library. What does a rare book library have in it? Well, manuscripts and early editions of Charles Darwin, some of the original Margaret Atwood manuscripts. She's the Handmaid's Tale lady. Poetry and notes from Leonard Cohen. I'm here to see a very special edition of Alice in Wonderland, and also the notes of a pretty impressive Canadian, an overachiever, if you will, the discoverer and youngest Nobel laureate in physiology and medicine, or these things. I need a teleprompter if you're gonna put all these big words out. At 32 years old, this Nobel laureate led a somewhat impressive life. Like any 14-year-old kid, his friend Jane got the diabetes, and he went, "Why, Lord, why?" And then he dedicated his life to solving Jane's problem in post. So he went through a lot of dogs, but he also fought in World War I, and then he came back and worked on this some more. Some more dogs were probably involved. And then World War II, after he had already won the Nobel Prize, just at his off time, he ended up killed in World War II at like 40-something years old. And I'm making YouTube videos. So in 1969, Random House decided to tap Salvador Dali to do a series of illustrations for a version of Alice in Wonderland. They released 2,700 copies of this book, and up until recently, you couldn't even see like a reprint. So the big version is here, a full-blown, unbound, hand-signed by Dali version, and they're just gonna let me touch it. Just me, not even checking me for Cheeto fingers, the Canadians are so friendly. It's a bit, pun kind of intended, surreal to see these artists combined in this way. And you see elements of Dali all throughout the illustrations. The girl skipping rope who illustrates Alice is frequently displayed in other block prints of his. Also the clock from Persistence of Memory that you can see in the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. they're a perfect match. It's incredible what they'll let you do if you just ask. I couldn't have picked a better day to visit. After an afternoon of being inside this dark cathedral-like library, I'm back out into the brilliant sun of Ontario. So I leave to go find a tree to sleep under, because if you don't do that, you're some sort of inhuman monster, which by definition is inhuman. You monster, monstrous monster. I'm not, so I went and did this. Autumn leaves are one of the few things I don't think are overly romanticized. The weather, the colors, it's something special to be in a place like this at this time of year. We'll come back to Toronto for the prettiest part, but I'm also in Ottawa for part of this tour. And I can think of very few places on this planet that make me as happy as the Dominion Arboretum around the shores of Dow's Lake, especially in October. It's a bit windy and a bit goosey, so this may be kind of loud, but this is Dow's Lake. And it's almost winter, so the water is much lower than usual. All the way down Rideau Canal, it'll ice over, and it's ice skating all winter long. It's really, really, really beautiful. But they lower the water level in Dow's Lake so that it freezes easier and kids don't fall through the ice and die in the frozen water and get eaten by geese, fish, or whatever else is out there. It's beautiful in the winter, but I'm not going. I'm not built for it. I would 1000% die. There's nothing to do except sit in whatever room you got trapped in when the winter came and order pizzas from very brave delivery drivers. So everywhere I go, it's just a crayon box. Back in Toronto, I visit Mount Pleasant Cemetery. I find it impossible not to listen to classical music when I'm in a place like this. You'd think it'd be more appropriate to find something Canadian, like Alanis or Bryan Adams, or the Arkells, or the Glorious Sons, or Our Lady Peace, or I Mother Earth, or Rush, perhaps. Definitely not that other band. It sounds like a dumb way to chase a whiskey shot. So let me step out of the way and leave you with some stringed instruments and some of my favorite views from this tour. Thanks again, Canada. We'll do it again.